Hi guys, sorry I'm late. Thank you for popping in to the live on Wednesday. I will do my normal, so answer your guys' questions that have come in, do some happy news, and do some real estate updates. Hope you guys are amazing and well and having a super week so far. I'm gonna dive right in because I do have to go list a house after. So first question comes from Crystal and Beth, and they are in Thornton. Crystal and Beth said, we are best friends and live together. We bought in fall of 2020. We have a variable mortgage, and even with the two of us, we're still struggling. Should we sell? I'm sorry to hear that, Crystal and Beth. Thank you for asking. To be honest, so you can of course sell if you want. I don't know if it's currently set up like 2 units, like 2 kitchens. If that was the case, or if you were comfortable, maybe you could move into one together. Let's just say upstairs was a 3-bedroom apartment and downstairs was a 1-bedroom. You could both move into the 3-bedroom. You could rent out the other room plus rent the basement, or maybe there's not 2 kitchens and there's just 3 bedrooms upstairs. Maybe you could rent out the other room, or there's 3 bedrooms plus 1 in the basement. You could rent out both, or just one to help cover. So I can't really answer that for you, but hopefully that gives you a couple of options. Thank you for asking. Okay, so for anybody that knows a little bit about me, they know that I have a 3-legged dog. So there was a story about a 3-legged elephant in Cambodia, which I had to share. So he's 11 and he lost his leg in a poaching trap. So he's luckily in this wildlife reserve thingy, and every 6 months, because I guess he's growing still, I don't know how long elephants grow, but he's still growing, so they give him a new prosthetic, and he can swim, and he can run, and he can walk, so I really like that. His name's Chip, and he's super cute, so I like that. The next question comes from Jill, and Jill is in Oro. Jill said, I want to move out east and have no mortgage. Can I port my mortgage, and then when it's done, not renew, or do I have to cancel it now? Thank you, Jill, for asking. Congrats on the big move. So it depends if you have a mortgage that's portable. So if you have a mortgage that's portable, you could move it out there. I don't know how much time is left on your mortgage. And then after your mortgage has come to renew, like you mentioned, then you just don't renew it anymore, and then you don't have the penalty. If you're a variable rate, compared to a fixed rate will make a difference if you have a 3-month interest penalty or a big penalty. Also, if you're like locked in for 5 years and it's only been 8 months of that, you're going to have a big penalty and so forth. So maybe find out those things, because let's just say you don't want to be paying a mortgage out there for 4 years if it's a really small penalty to get out of it, right? So first of all, see if you can port it out there, and then obviously if you can't, you will have to pay the but the rate, and if you can't get out there. So I apologize. The word, even though I just used it, is not coming to me. Penalty, that's the word I'm looking for. So if you can't port it, then you're gonna have to pay the penalty regardless, okay? Thank you for asking. So there were 2 people, a young couple on their way back from a trip from the Bahamas. And over the PA system, somebody said, you know, does anybody have medical experience? And she's still currently a nurse, and he used to be a nurse. So they jumped up, and a few seats over, the flight attendant was pointing to somebody, and the man was hunched over, and he was all purple and stuff, and I guess he went into cardiac arrest. So they quickly started doing compressions and what have you on him for 23 minutes, which is crazy, and 7 minutes before they landed, before the plane landed, he started to breathe again. So they saved his life, and they got a lovely message and heartfelt surprise from the wife, who was obviously glad to have her husband still with her. So I like happy stories, so that's why I do happy news and not sad news. The next question comes from Tina, and Tina is in Newmarket. Tina said, we have a tiny house and would love to do an addition, but we are afraid that we will be too nice for the area. What do you think? That is a very valid point, Tina. So sometimes we say that like the properties around can either bring you up or bring you down. So if the things around you are not so nice or very small, etc., it could definitely pull you down. I would have an agent send you what has sold in the area that has that bigger square footage that you're hoping to get to. The thing is just check. So say, for example, you do it on your street and all the homes are 1,000 square feet, and then you add a second addition or second story plus a back addition, and you're the only one there. So say you're 2,500 altogether, and there's other homes that have sold for 2,500, or sorry, not sold for, have 2,500 square feet, but they're on streets where everything has 2,500 square feet. Unfortunately, they're going to fare better in the pricing category. So I probably wouldn't suggest it without even looking at comparables, but definitely look at comparables just in case. It'll probably be easier if you just do it somewhere else, just because you don't want the neighbors to pull you down. So thank you for asking. I think I have one happy news before we do real estate. So there was a brave dog in California. So this one lady had like those little doggy flap doors, and she had a 12-pound Morkie, Maltese Yorkie, and an 11-year-old 10-pound Maltese. And so the first one went outside through the doggy door and a coyote got it. And then the other dog raced out, and even though it only had 3 teeth, it went to attack the coyote, and the coyote let their dog go. So I thought it was cute they stuck up for his brother, but anyways, that's just me. So I'm going to do the real estate update for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Oh, that's funny. It's saying that somebody wants to join the video, but I have to allow it, which I've never seen before. Oh, she won't, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know, Mary, if you can, it said that you wanted to join it, but that would mean that you are joining it, that like you're next to me on the screen. Thank you for watching, Mary. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will just go through a bunch of things as well as answer your guys' questions that have come in throughout the week. So the interest rate went up. So it went up 7 times last year. January 25th of this year, it went up. The past 2 times it did not go up. And then today, this morning, it went up again, which was 0.25. So again, twice it has gone up this year. So now it is at 4.75. So that is the rate with the Bank of Canada is at 4.75. And the next announcement is July the 12th for a possible rate announcement or rate hold. So basically, what does that mean? So buyers that are not locked in for 90 days, when they're buying, obviously their mortgage payment will then be higher because the rate is now higher. It'll also mean other buyers that are locked in for 90 days are going to try and buy quickly because they want to buy before their 90 days ends, and then they're, they have to pay a higher rate. And then also some people's debt to service ratios. So if they're not locked in for 90 days, then their debt to service ratios might be off. It is only 0.25, but some people are really, really close with their debt to service ratios. So that just means how much they make versus how much they spend and so forth on all of their utilities and their bills, etc., their OSAP payments, their truck payments and so forth. So that 0.25 might put them over. So now they might not be able to because the banks like it to be a certain rate. Like, oh, we want you to make $100,000 a year, but spend $35,000 a year, etc. They don't want you to make $100,000 and spend $90,000 a year. So the debt to service ratio might be messed up a little bit for people. And then obviously people that already have mortgages, if they have a variable mortgage, they're going to get a letter in the mail and it's going to say that their mortgage is going up. So that is basically that in a nutshell. What else? I know, so I talk a little bit locally. Sometimes I talk provincially. Sometimes I talk, something that happened in BC or something that happened in Montreal or out east or whatever. So I'm going to do a little bit of everything. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So not that I know anybody that has $190 million, but there was just a deal that went south that was worth $190 million. They had been doing it for 3 years. It was right by Ontario Place. So it was an investor group and they wanted to buy this condo building for $190 million and change it to apartment buildings. If it had gone through, it would have been the highest ever in Ontario, but they didn't get their financing in time. They said, hey, here's an extra $700,000 if you extend it for us. And the people said no, and they kept their 1.7 million, which was not refundable, that they had already put down before. So that's just a random side fact for you. Again, not that I know anybody that has 190 million, but just thought I'd tell you. So the bill 97 was just passed on Monday. So what does that mean? I've talked about it in the past, but what hadn't been official. So it's the Helping Homebuyers Protecting Tenants Act. But a lot of municipalities as well as people don't like it and they see a lot of red flags to it. So basically it affects the governing and all that kind of stuff of housing and development. And the whole point of it is supposed to be to have more homes for people first-time buyers or just in general, immigrants and people basically in general trying to get into the market. And they're extending, one of the main things they're doing is extending boundaries. So for example, I'm in Cookstown right now, and let's just say they can only build to a certain street. Then this new bill allows them to extend further. So you could build 5 kilometers further or whatever like that to have new developments and so forth. So that is something that is in it. Also, when it was first introduced, which was in April, that was by the Ministry of Affairs and Housing. And it had a lot to do with tenants. So for example, I'm not going to go through every single thing because obviously it's like hundreds of pages. But one thing with tenants is it allows them to have air conditioning units. Sounds silly, but before they couldn't just do it if they wanted to. Now they can. However, the landlord is allowed to say, hey, my utility bills went up, so therefore you need to give me more money. So they're allowed to do that. Also, it doubles the fines for landlords. So if a landlord kicks somebody out and it is not something that they're allowed to do. It is now $100,000, used to be $50,000. It is now a $100,000 fine for individuals and $500,000 for corporations, which is a lot of money. Also, if, for example, somebody kicks them out and says, hey, I actually just want to renovate the whole unit, it actually has to give, now under this bill, you have to give the tenant 60 days to rent that unit out at the same price that they had it before. If they, after 60 days, they don't say, yeah, I want it, then obviously you don't have to keep bugging them. But that is something else that is in this bill. For home buyers, this is not official yet. This is one they're just thinking of, but it's a cooling off period. Basically, you say you bought it and then you have a cooling off period. They have it in timeshares. So it's a cooling off period that you can think about it and you're like, yeah, actually I changed my mind. I don't want to buy it. So that's not official yet, but that's in talks of the bill, which I don't think would be a good idea. It'd just be annoying. You bought it, you didn't buy it, you bought it, you didn't buy it, and they can't decide. So another thing that a lot of people think are the red flags is currently if you demolish 150 units in Toronto, and therefore you have to build 150 units. So most people, let's just say they tear down 6 stories, then they build 35, and they still have units for rent, and they'll do part rent, part condo, etc. So that's what they do. But with this new bill, they don't have to replenish anything they take away. So they could take away blocks and blocks and blocks of apartment buildings, and they don't have to put them back. So that is not good, and that is something that is allowed under this bill. What else? Another thing is about agriculture. So it allows them to take farmland and divide it into residential lots, as well as allowing the residential lots to have 3 homes on it. So they say it's about like, hey, me living with my grandma, with my great grandmother, etc. But a lot of farmers are worried, like where are all the crops going to be and so forth. So that is something else that is in the bill that people don't like. What else? The landlord and tenant board like it because it is giving them money to deal with their backlog. Because I don't know if you have all dealt with the landlord and tenant board anytime recently, but it is very, very, very behind. So they're saying, hey, we'll give you this extra money and you can hire some more people, etc., to hopefully catch up on all of that. It's also going to cut a lot of the red tape with developing, so it's going to make it faster to do it. But some people don't like it because, let's just say something has heritage, like some church or some whatever. Just before they'd say you can't build it there, but now they're like, oh yeah, red tape, no, well, and you can build it there and tear it down. So a lot of people don't like that. Again, I jump around a lot, so I apologize for those that have never seen it before. In Mississauga, I don't think of like, oh, lovely homes or waterfront homes or what have you, but there was actually a waterfront home in Mississauga that sold for the highest in Ontario in May, which was $8.35 million in Mississauga. It was on the water, or not on the water, it was like up high, so you could see the water. It had a pool, 6,500 square feet and 11 foot ceilings, only 4 bedrooms. I think for $8 million, I'd want more bedrooms. But anyways, that sold. Another thing is that Ontario is really worried about the number of condo managers that there are. So there's only currently 2,500 and change condo managers, but there are over 950,000 condos in Ontario. So if you do the math to that, obviously that is not very ideal. It's a lot of condos for each condo manager to deal with. So now being a condo manager is regulated, whereas before it wasn't. So before there were a lot more condo managers, but because it's regulated now there's not as many. So they worry that basically, you know, the owners of the condos will have to deal with, you know, the maintenance and maybe lawsuits and so forth. So they're worried about that. Just in the next year alone, there's a company called Urbanation. Yeah, consulting firm called Urbanation. And it said there's 25,000 new units for condos this year alone in 2023. So there already are not enough condo managers. So that doesn't look very well. Also, some people are saying, okay, let's just give them more money, etc. But the thing about that is that the condo manager is the one that plans all the money. So if the current person is saying, hey, we don't have enough money to pay them more, then that obviously doesn't work either. So what managers do, just in case you're curious, is like random day-to-day stuff, making sure that the pool's fine, making sure the money is taken care of properly, and obviously abiding laws and so forth. And then making sure they have money to fix things. So the roof, the furnace, the windows, the maybe landscaping, etc., the common areas and so forth. So that is what they need to do. A lot of them are also getting really close to retirement. So those 2,500 that they have. So they thought like, hey, let's do some things at high schools and try and do some little job fairs and so forth and get some condo managers. The average condo manager makes $70,000 a year, which is up 20% of what used to be before they were regulated. So their jobs, not their jobs, but their price point went up about 20% after that. The Condo Authority of Ontario said it's actually the homeowners that own the condo that should be responsible. However, obviously a lot of people don't know how to run, let's just say 10 million comes in condo fees. They have no idea what to do with that. So that obviously is very hard to do. So as I was mentioning before, the benchmark rate is now at 4.75. And the last time it went up was January 25th. Again, the next time is in July, the 12th. And before, majority of economists were saying that it wasn't going to go up, and now they all think because it went up this time, they think the next time it's most likely going to go up. So that is something that they've all changed their tune on today. This is the highest it has been since 2001. So yes, over 90% didn't think it was going to go up. It did, and yeah, highest since 2001. So now everybody thinks it's going to go up the next time. So obviously, if you, like I said, if you have a variable mortgage, it's going to go up. If, for example, you had a $500,000 mortgage, it's already gone up over $1,000 a month just from the last ones, not counting today's hike. So that will affect that. So there's been 9 hikes, 7 were last year, 1 was January, and then 2 didn't happen, then another one. So there's been 9 altogether from the Bank of Canada. So before this, you could easily get interest rates below 2%, and now it's really hard pressed. You'll be hard pressed to find one below 5%. So before, tons of them below 2%, now really hard to find even under 5%. So that is that. One economist said that the banks are just hurting the first-time buyers, and it's not helping with inflation at all, and might even be making it worse. So that was one economist's view. Another one said whether you rent or own, your roof over your head, etc., is usually the biggest amount that comes out of your pay and your salary, etc. So why are we trying to hurt people more by making it harder for them to do so? And one said that it was triggering a recession, and then another one started to talk about that, saying that they're hoping to bring prices down and force a recession. So that is what some are saying. What else was I going to say? Yeah, and majority of them, they're saying that there's going to be another hike in July, are thinking it's going to be 0.25. Okay, but they're not always right. Last year, sometimes they thought it was 0.25 and it went up 0.5 and vice versa and so forth. So not always right. Next question comes from Camilla, and Camilla is in Baxter. Camilla said, I have a huge yard with a pool. However, it is in very bad repair. I never use it. Should I fill it in or fix it? Thank you, Camilla, for asking. I don't know when you plan on selling. If, for example, you plan on selling in 25 years, obviously to get it fixed and then you don't use it for 20 or 25 years is a lot of maintenance and so forth, because it's not going to last and blah, blah, blah. But if you're planning on selling in like 3 years or whatever, pools do add value. So I would get it fixed. So it just depends when you're selling. If it's really far off, I would, even though I hate to fill in a pool, it is a lot of maintenance for 20 or 25 years. But if you're going to sell it, in less than 10 years or what have you, I would get it fixed. I apologize. I know you don't use it, but thank you for asking. So I do a little bit of happy news too. So there was a little boy, and he was 4, and he went missing for 6 days, which is obviously sad as it is. However, it is even more sad to me because it was in Kenya in a jungle. So there's like all these jackals and hippos and hyenas and rhinos and what have you. And they couldn't find him on foot. And then he was just found, honestly, by fluke. There was 2 pilots, and they were looking for poachers out in the forest, and they didn't know what that was. They saw something, and anyways, it was a little boy. So they found him, so I like that. Next question comes from Jeff and Claire, and Barry. Jeff and Claire said, we were wondering how we switch into commercial investing. Is it harder to get financing? Thank you, Jeff and Claire, for asking. It is harder to get financing. You would typically think about mortgage and so forth and banking days and conditions, and you'd probably put 5 or 10 banking days. Whereas in commercial, oftentimes they put 15, 30, 60, I've even seen 90 banking days for commercial properties. And oftentimes buying a home, you can put 5% down. And usually in commercial properties, they want at least 20, but lots of times they want 35. I always have to put 35 usually. So it just depends how many doors you have, which means how many buildings. Hi, Mel. How are you? Hope you had a great time in England, and excited to see you in October. But we haven't booked it yet, but we're coming. So yes, I don't remember what I was saying, but that's what I was saying. What was I saying? Mel, now I forget where I was. Oh, commercial investing. Oh yeah, 35%. You have to put down 35% most likely. And yeah, so it just takes longer, and also don't try and close it fast. Don't try and close it if you need financing. Don't try and close it in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. The last time I did 90 days, they ended up extending it another 90 days. So it does take a lot longer. So I would suggest a farther off closing date. But thank you for asking. So there was a man that got basically rejected from every college that he applied for. And he was 18 and so forth. And then his dad had a stroke, and he realized, hey, like, I need to do better in school so I can help get a better job, and I can help pay my dad's bills and his medical expenses, etc. This is in the States, and obviously if they don't have insurance and so forth. So he ended up getting a job at like waste management, kind of like a garbage person. And he was getting up at 4 a.m. and blah, blah. And he went from basically the worst student to the best student. And somebody wrote an article on him. Somebody else saw it, paid for his education. And fast forward to this year, he just graduated from Harvard in law. And now he started his own nonprofit organization. It's called Reciprocity Effort. And effort or effect? Effort. And basically it's for caretakers and so forth. So if they come across tragedy or their families, so whether it's caretakers at the school or caretakers just in general, he started this whole nonprofit thing. So I like that because he's giving back because somebody helped him. So I like that. Next question comes from, what is the next question? Camilla and Baxter. No, I said that. That was the pool one. I don't have another question. I have one more happy news. There was a lady, and at first it was not happy. She went into a gas station in Beverly Hills and basically was screaming, is anybody a doctor or a nurse? And nobody was, but somebody said something to her, and she kind of, not to say threw her kid, but basically gave him her toddler, and she fell to the ground and started crying, and the baby wasn't breathing, etc. And anyways, this gas station security guard turned the baby over and started just patting the baby's back and stuff, and the baby ended up living and regaining consciousness and all that kind of stuff, which was crazy. Anyways, thank you guys for popping in. Be kind to one another. Never stop going for your dreams, and have the best evening ever. Thanks for popping in. Take care.